navy blue of Victoria.
He uses his feet and goes again through mid-wicket. That's an even better shot from the Victorian captain.
Swept away very nicely by Nicole Bolton for four.
Oh, he's been given! That is 50. The man from Northcote.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Vic State Cricket Podcast for 2025. We're halfway through the season 24-25. We had 2 months off for a thing called the Big Bash, if you don't know what that is. But we're back to real cricket, back to the Sheffield Shield. I'm Adam White. We're joined by Peter Handscomb in this latest edition as we look forward to 4 more Sheffield Shield games for the regular season and hopefully a Shield final. There's also one-day cup matches as well, so there's still plenty of cricket left in the season. Pete, welcome.
Thanks, Whitey.
2 months since we played at the MCG against Queensland. I actually had to check that this morning. It feels like a long time. What about you for a player? Does it feel like a long time?
Well, 2 months, in a season is a long time. And you know, with the energy and everything of Big Bash, state cricket can sometimes be put to the side. But no, it's nice to be back. You know, the boys get around being back in blue, and there's a good energy and a good vibe. So, yeah, it's nice to have had the break for me personally because I wasn't playing the Big Bash. So, got some nice family time. But raring to go now after a break.
So, what do you do in the 2 months? Because you played one Big Bash game, you played a final. You represented, I guess you'd call it Australia A or a Cricket Australia 11 a few times as well. You were co-host for me with a podcast. You mentioned family time. Was it just about trying to keep busy? Were you wanting a break from cricket because you played the whole season in England as well? So it's not like you haven't had a lot of cricket. Yeah,
I think the first thing I wanted to do was spend time with the family, knowing that I was going to potentially have 2 months off. It turned out to be about a month with everything else that started to come through, but yeah, family time was important. I'd had a full season in Australia, followed that up with a full season in Leicester, and I'd done that for a couple of years now. So, coming in and not having to pick up a bat for 3 weeks was actually quite nice. Yeah. Rejuvenating almost to just put it to the side and enjoy what's in front of me. And you know, we were really lucky we were able to go away on an extended family holiday, which I'm never normally around for. Yeah. So to be there for that was special. So it was nice to have that recharge. But yeah, it kind of makes you want to get back into cricket and get that energy going again.
Was there an element of panic's probably a bit strong, but considering how well you've been playing over an extended period of time that you think, I'm not sure whether I want to put the bat away for a few weeks. I want to keep going considering this form you've been on for quite a while now. Yeah,
there's definitely something where if you're feeling good, you don't want to mess with form because form is very fickle and cricket is a tough game and she's a bit of a cruel mistress sometimes. So when you're feeling good, you want to keep putting back-to-back games in as much as possible, but I feel like I'm at a stage in my career now where if I have a break, I can get back to where I need to be or where I feel like I can be in a good headspace in about a week's time. So a week of training or at least a week of hitting, I'll be able to find my movement patterns that I want and hopefully get back to a position where I feel I can score runs.
So has that changed for you? I mean, you're now one of the most experienced players in first-class cricket. You're not old, you're experienced. So does it get to a point where it's more a mental game for you than a physical game, that it's so ingrained in you, your footwork, your technique, that sort of thing, that it's more a mental thing around decision-making that gets you going again? Or is it still very much, no, I've got to do certain things physically to get myself ready to play?
I think it used to be I'd have my whole prep and I had to do that. The night before I had to watch footage of all the other bowlers. I had to watch a little highlights package that I'd made of myself to certain music so that I was getting myself into a headspace that I thought was where I wanted to be. I had routines in the morning. I had a certain amount of like imaginary shots I had to play while I was waiting to bat. All this stuff, which I think when you're starting your career, you're just trying to find ways that work, and that was working to a point. But I was also getting very, very, very tired doing all that stuff, and I think with the birth of our son Jack, that all went out the window, because you can't plan, you can't do your routine because something's happened overnight, or you didn't get the sleep that you wanted, or whatever. There's always something happening, which is so amazing. But it quickly puts into perspective what you need to do to feel ready. And so I was able to change very quickly my processes and routines, and change that to around just my mental space and making sure that mentally I'm ready to go.
That is so fascinating. So has it made you a better player doing it differently? Has it made you a different player? Because often people talk about being professional athletes when you have kids, the perspective changes and they do become better players, particularly in the cricket space, I think. I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah.
But have you found that? Has it changed you in the way you, I don't know, everything about you?
Yeah, it's definitely changed the way I've processed failure.
Yep.
Which has been really nice. It's when you fail when you're young, I feel like you dwell on it a lot longer. You're like, oh, okay, I'm potentially getting dropped here, or how many more games do I have left? When's my next run coming? All this stuff, and you haven't been through the ebbs and flows of cricket yet. But when you fail now, and you go home and you're changing nappy straight away, you're playing straight away, you've got the train set out, you're doing all that, you quickly forget the day's experience. And I think being able to move on and put that failure aside quickly has helped me with just my next innings, being like, okay, that happened, but we've got this one now. I've got an opportunity to try and do something special now. So let's do it.
I think there's a lot of people listening to this that will, even if they play local cricket, you're driving to the ground on a Saturday morning, you've got the butterflies, and people are wondering, why do I have the butterflies? And I think a lot of it is around worried about failure, worrying about what if it doesn't work today? Because, most days it doesn't work. It's only some days you have a great day, and that's relative to whatever standard of cricket you're playing. But dealing with failure, dealing with disappointment is half the battle as a cricketer. So what advice potentially have you got for people around that space? Because I think it is a serious thing about, when you go out to bat, rather than worrying about getting out, actually worrying about scoring runs.
Yeah.
I need that advice, maybe.
I don't know. I think we're starting to see that kind of shift naturally in cricket.
Correct.
Anyway.
With the shorter form.
With the shorter form, and a lot of people playing so much more cricket.
Yep.
That you know that you're going to get another opportunity, you get another chance to have a hit pretty soon. And there's, especially in the professional leagues, there's competitions around the world. So even if you have one bad comp, you're not waiting around to next year to play another comp.
Yep.
If you were just playing Big Bash, you've then got another one to go to and perform there, and all of a sudden you're back. So I think the ability to put failure behind us as a cricketing group around the world has been a lot better, but it's still not easy. It's still not easy, and I don't have a magic thing that I can say where all of a sudden it's like, yep, this is how you do it. But I don't know, by playing longer, something I've always focused on, and my wife always reminds me if I'm feeling a bit down, is that if I've had a run of bad scores, well, then I'm just closer to making a good score.
Yeah.
Because your average is there for a reason. You're going to go through a purple patch at some stage, and you're going to go through a bad patch. So just knowing those bad patches happen and accepting that they're going to happen kind of helps you get out of it a little bit faster and get you back into making runs.
Do you think you're playing as well as you ever have when you look back at what you've done in the last, say, 12 to 18 months versus when you first played for Australia, when you went through that really good run for Victoria that propelled you into playing for Australia, where you played extremely well and you proved that you can play at the international level. Do you feel that you might be a different cricketer, but you're as good as you've ever been?
I think mentally, I'm in the best space that I've been in throughout my career. Technically, it's hard to tell. I've had different techniques throughout my career. It's always been a talking point when doing interviews and whatnot. But they've all made runs at some stage, those techniques. But yeah, mentally, I feel like I'm in a better spot where I back my plans more going into games now. And it's probably just from being in so many different situations in cricket now, being in so many different conditions, seaming, spinning, fast and bouncy, slow and low, and playing all over the world, that I can draw on that experience going into a game and being like, okay, I think this wicket's going to do this. This is going to be my game plan, and I'm going to back it 100%. And I think that's been able to help me in the last couple of years.
Just thinking, as you're saying that, it's the real clarity of mind, I guess, isn't it? To not be muddled in mind as you go out to bat. And you've got different situations at the MCG than what was the case 10 years ago. The ball's different now. The game's played differently now. That being clear and having that clarity is probably more important than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've always, talking to coaches throughout the years and other players, sort of a thing where if you're 100% committed to a plan, even if it's the wrong plan, you're still going to perform better than 70% committed or 80% committed to the right plan. If you're not into it, if you're not clear, if you're not backing it in, and you're sort of second guessing it a little bit, well then you're going to be put in a bad spot. So yeah, I think we're seeing that a lot more in younger players now, is that they are just backing the way that they want to play, and they're coming out and they're going for it. And yeah, that fear of failure is starting to not be as big a thing anymore.
We're talking about how good your form has been. You were invited to go to Sydney on the thought process, I think, from everybody that you were going to then go to Sri Lanka. And it didn't happen. So I'm interested in how much that hurt you that you're so close, but also how much that gave you confidence that you're still in the minds of the Australian selectors.
Yeah.
I know that's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. No, it was tough. It was really, really tough. I feel like, being invited up to Sydney to get around the group, doing a spin training with Murph and Cooney, doing all the right things, all the conversations there about, what would you need to, in the next couple of weeks, what do you need to get ready for Sri Lanka if it goes your way. You kind of get a feeling like, okay, this is cool. I get to put my hand up and try and get on a test tour again. But yeah, for it not to fall my way, it hurt a lot. And yeah, geez, it would have. Well, everyone wants to be on a test tour. Everyone wants to put the backy green on and or put it back on. So that side of it really hurt. But then, the positive out of it is that they're still realising that I can do a job for them if needed, if they feel the conditions are there. If an injury occurs, selectors are still have my my name there ready to go. So that side of it is really good. But being on the fringe sucks because you actually want to be playing.
So did it reaffirm in your own mind that there's still some unfinished business? I know, talking to you after you last played for Australia in India, how much you were burning that you didn't get that 100 when you it might have been the chance to get one again. It's sort of like, the fire still burnt then. Is it still the case now that you were so close that you're almost touching it and you go, yep, I still want to do this and I still can do it?
Yeah, it's kind of teasing a little bit, like it was just there. So, No, the fire's still there. And I think the beauty is what we've seen now from so many cricketers playing for Australia is that you can play till you, especially as a batter, till you're 37, 38. We're seeing Uzi make a double hundred at 38. We can play for longer and we can play at a high level for longer. So, yeah, the fire's there, and I feel like I'm in, like I said, I feel like I'm in a really, really good mind space, headspace, and yeah, if I get that opportunity, I think I can do something special. And I think where Tony Dodemaide and George Bailey and Andrew McDonald have been really good is that they've said Test cricket will always be the best side, and age is just a number. And so they're not going to discount me if I'm too old, and they're not going to discount young players if they're too young. It's very much who they see in the best 11 at that stage, and I think that's a really positive thing, especially for someone like me.
That keeps you driving forward, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All you got to do is make runs and put your best foot forward.
Yeah. So, watching the Sri Lankan tour, do you watch it or do you go, I can't watch this? Because I could be doing this, I could be doing that. It's obviously such a big win. How do you process that?
I think I have watched it. I've watched bits and pieces. On the couch with Jack, and Jack's loving it. But yeah, there's a bit of me that feels like it would have been awesome to have that opportunity to go and play in Sri Lanka, and for it to not be a wicket that we've seen in the subcontinent tours of India, especially. Just a good cricket wicket, a good subcontinent cricket wicket. But also, I think if I was over in Sri Lanka now, Ingo was the next batter in anyway throughout the entire summer, so he probably would have played. I would have been sitting on the bench anyway. But yeah, I mean, to have that opportunity to go and play would just be fantastic. That's really all you're hoping for.
The last one on the Australian situation, because I get prickly about this, and I'm not Peter Handscomb, but there's this thought that, Pete's the best player of spin in the country. Pete's this with spin. He's a subcontinental player and all these sorts of things. I watch you play all the time on all sorts of different wickets, and I would argue that, you might be good against spin, but you can actually go okay in other conditions as well. Does that annoy you? Do you get prickly about that, or do you wear it as a badge of honour, this thought that Peter Handscomb's good against spin?
It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both, because I feel like I've been given some opportunities on some subcontinent tours to prove how good I am with spin and in tough conditions. And if I didn't have that sort of mark against my name about being a good player of spin, I may not have gone to India a couple of years ago. But I was able to get that opportunity and play for Australia again, which was really special. But also, it kind of feels like I then, when the Test team comes back to Australia, I kind of get pushed to the side in terms of thought for selection in Australia, which hurts a little bit as well, because in Australia in Shield cricket, there's generally 4 seamers and 1 spinner, so I'm making runs against quicks, and in county cricket in England, it's predominantly seamers. So I feel like I'm in a position to score runs against quicks. So yeah, I'd like to try and change that as best as I can. But like I said, it is sort of bittersweet, because it did get me on some tours for Australia, and it did get me some tests and a baggy green. So that was special as well.
All right, on to Victoria. Second in the Sheffield Shield as it currently stands, going into the back half of the season. Still very much a live chance in the One Day Cup as well. So very similar situation to last year. And it didn't quite go to plan last year in the back half. What's different about this year, do you think, that you're confident enough that you can push forward and win some titles?
I think with this year, what we're seeing is it's just a whole squad mentality. And when guys are being given their opportunity, they're coming in and they're doing really well. Case in point is Sammy Elliott. He's had opportunities through previous years, but this year he's sort of back-to-back games, and we're seeing him take charge and bowl really well, and that's without Sutho playing, without Scotty playing. Someone else is standing up with the ball, which is impressive. And Xavier Crone's come in and done a similar thing. We're seeing Tommy Rogers with the bat, Campbell Kellaway with the bat. These guys that have been in the squad and been around, but haven't been helping out as much, are really starting to step forward. And then you couple that with Harry, and when Scotty does play, and Murph, Ferg doing his thing as well, getting stronger and faster, which is great. Everyone's starting to contribute, and we're not relying on one or two people to get the job done. So, yeah, the squad, I think, is in a really, really good position. And because we were in the position last year as well, we've now got the experience of kind of what it means and what it takes to win those important games. So, yeah, hopefully when it comes down to it, the last couple of games of the year, we can, just cross the line first over someone else and get into those finals.
You know what it's like to win titles. Do you think this team has the capacity to win titles this year, or is it still a little way away, do you think?
No, we've got the capacity to win titles. That's for sure. This squad that we've got now played back-to-back Shield finals, a couple of years ago against WA, and they won everything. So the fact that we were thereabouts with, at the time, it was a young squad. So now that those players are getting the experience, they've had 20 more first-class games. They're coming into the back half of the season stronger and fitter than they were then. Only puts us in a better position to push for titles in both red ball and white ball. And all that experience, all that learnings, what ball to bowl when, what guard to take as a batter to a certain bowler, because you're in that position again. All those learnings have happened now, so we're starting to see these guys grow and be really, really good players.
You've had to captain the team a few times this season through the injury to Will. Those younger guys, and you mentioned quite a few of them then, Fergus, Xavier, mostly in the bowls, although the batters are starting to come in too as some of the younger players. But it does feel that they're driving the culture of this current team. They're very passionate about Victoria. They're very passionate about their teammates, and it's very noticeable being at the games, just that it's quite infectious, quite contagious, the way that they are building this culture. Do you feel that as one of the senior players in the team?
Yeah, absolutely. It's impressive to see these young players just the want to play for Victoria, the want to put the baggy blue back on and win games, or help win games for Victoria, to sing the song at the end. The energy in the group is special. And you're right, it's being driven by these younger players who have now been part of the squad for 5-6 years. I think they really know what it means to put that on, and we've done a lot of work now trying to get past players involved and talking to them, and really getting a feel for what it means, and how special and how lucky we are to be able to play cricket for a living and be able to play cricket for Victoria with such a rich history. So being a part of that is very special, and these young guys are doing a good job.
Are you a historian of the game? Are you one that does go back and look at the records of some of the former Victorian greats and look at old footage and all that sort of thing, or is that something that you're big on?
I like talking to, when we have past player events or past player days, I like talking to the old boys just about stories, about change room stories, how they got their culture, who took the piss, who was funny, who drove it, why they drove it, and what was so special about that, rather than the numbers and the runs and the wickets and all of that. I think that stuff's kind of secondary to how you build an important group or a special group. Getting those stories from the old boys is always good fun. But in terms of numbers, I haven't focused on too many.
Well, you can't remember what you do yourself, let alone
No,
what other people
exactly.
do. So just one final one then, and I asked this to a lot of the former players when we do this podcast about what it means to play for Victoria, what it meant to play for Victoria for them. And some of them get teary just talking about the significance of playing for Victoria. And, I'm talking the likes of Merv Hughes and, Ian Redpath, certainly Bill Laurie, some of the biggest names in Australian cricket. You've got you're one of, unfortunately, very few in recent times that have been a player for Australia as a Victorian, and there's pressure that goes with that. Firstly, what is that like? That pressure of being one of so few that have played, particularly as a batsman for Australia, that's been Victorian. Do you think about that much?
Honestly, I haven't.
Yeah,
I haven't thought about that too much. I don't know. Me, Harry, Puck. So the last.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's
the last three. Maybe you count Wadey in there as a bit of a Victorian. Well, he's got the Victorian heart, that's for sure. I don't know. There's always been a little bit of a stigma about Victorians not playing for Australia. But I think we're changing that. I think we're pushing the case a lot more now. Even seeing Southo, Ferg get opportunities with Australia A. Obviously Scotty's doing his thing, Murph doing his thing. So, but yeah, there's something special about a Victorian batsman walking out to bat on a Boxing Day test. There's just something there. The Victorian crowd is so special.
And then to play for Victoria, that was the question I was originally going to ask you. The significance of that for you as a Victorian to go out there and you've gone through the pathway programs, you've played suburban cricket, you've played sub-district cricket, you've played Premier cricket, then to go and play for Victoria and represent the state.
I just remember state cricket, when I was in school in the last couple of weeks of term 4, when you're not doing any work anymore and the school's trying to find excursions for you to do. We always used to be able to come to a one-day game at the Junction or the G for Victoria, and how special it was to sort of just watch some of these guys. And and it's not something I really ever I didn't strive to be a professional cricketer, but now having been in this setup and being around some incredible players, when I started, the David Hussey, Cam White, Rob Quiney, Chris Rogers. I mean, the names are endless in terms of the teams that we've had. Seeing what it meant for them to win games for Victoria really resonated with me, and that was like, all right, here's grown men putting everything on the line to win a game, and how special that was. Because not everyone gets to do it. There's only a few players that have been able to play for Victoria, so being one of them is incredibly special.
Well, hopefully there's real special moments to come this year. It does feel like it could be Victoria's year. There's 2 trophies up for grabs, and as I said, you're in contention for both of them. Good luck for the rest of the season for the team, but also for yourself personally. Hopefully it continues, because I've got a feeling that if you keep playing well, you're a better chance of winning the title. So good luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers. Thanks, Whitey.
There you go. Peter Handscomb joining us on the Vic State Cricket Podcast. Great to have a chat to Pete, an extended chat. We don't get to do that too often, so it's a bit of a treat to have Pete in with us. We'll catch you next time.